We go again. If all is fine, Enis is on the line directing the technical stuff. Yes, cool. Here we go again. For those who missed the first part or didn't hear the first part, we are at the first episodes of Vadi Sound Talks. And today we're going to talk about getting game audio rights without getting lost, which is not easy. And our guests here today, Can and Saliha, will tell us more about how we get that right. First, let's get the introductions over to Can. And just before getting that, this talk will last about 1 hour, and we will have the Q&A at the very end. Just a reminder, you can put your comments in the comments part on YouTube, and we'll take them at the end of the talk. And I totally forgot to introduce myself. I'm Aslı from Vadi Sound, the first show excitement, sorry about that. So I'm the co-CEO and an aspiring field recordist at Vadi Sound now. Vadi Sound was founded by Enis Çakar, my partner, back in 2016. And in 2020, we joined forces to go worldwide and introduce the technology, the software part of it. So we're a sound effects company, a cloud and technology sound effects company, who is trying to ease game audio design through our services. So that's about me. Over to Can to give his introduction. So I think you weren't a sound designer at the beginning. You studied something completely different. So how did you get here?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so my name is Can Saraç. I'm currently in Shanghai, China, and I actually studied business when I went to university for my bachelor's degree. I studied business and I majored in marketing because honestly I had no idea what I wanted to do with my career or in my adult life. I was just kind of confused and not sure. So I don't know, I think with my father's recommendation, studying business would be a good idea in whatever field I go in later on. So, I think it was a good decision in hindsight. So I studied that for about 4 years, and then I went back to Turkey, and I worked in finance for about 3-4 years. But I realized quickly, I mean, not quickly, about after 3 years, that I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. And I don't regret working in that field because I learned many skills and tools, and it helped me learn that that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, it was important for me to realize that. I tried some other stuff, like I tried to do, my dad is in construction, so we tried to do that a little bit. That didn't work out too well either. So just randomly, like when I was on the internet, I came across this school that teaches sound design in Canada. It's a school called Vancouver Film School. So I was really interested in films, and I was interested in games. I was interested in music. I play drums myself, and I thought, I don't know, the idea of doing sound design for films and video games, it just sounded like this weird dream job. Like, it didn't feel like a job. So I thought, like, if I can get some proper education about this, maybe it would be a good job that I can do for the rest of my life. Like, I can really commit myself to this. So my parents thankfully supported this weird adventure, and so I went and studied sound design in Canada, and that school really, like, it was kind of like a breaking point for me in my life, in my career, in my current career. It's like this 1-year certificate program, but it's like really intense, like packed with ton of information, both with film and game audio. But towards the end of it, I realized I really want to lean more towards game audio. It felt more exciting to me. It felt like it has a brighter future, and it felt like I would be more suitable in the games industry, working as a sound designer. And so yeah, I ended up. I initially wanted to stay in Canada, but couldn't. So I went back to Turkey. I did some freelancing in Turkey, but I really made up my mind about uh, going somewhere in Europe or somewhere in North America, maybe, because I really wanted to work on big projects. I wanted to work with the best people, working on interesting, like bigger projects. I knew there was some stuff going on in Turkey, but it was very limited. And yeah, I kind of wanted to try my luck outside, and I somehow found this job in China through a classmate I had in Canada. She helped me get this job in Shanghai. It was a game audio company called Vanguard Sound. It was doing they do like game audio outsourcing for Chinese game developers, like sound effects, music, voiceover, everything sound related. So I worked there for about 3 years. I worked on about four one actually came out yesterday. It was kind of exciting yesterday for me. It was like a game that I worked on for about 3 years. It was called Anno Mutationum. It came out yesterday. But anyways, so I recently left that company, and in 2 days, not two, in 3 days, I'm gonna be joining my new company, which is the Ubisoft Shanghai, and I'm gonna be working on. There's a new Avatar game coming out at the end of this year, and after that, there's a new Star Wars open world game. I'm gonna be working on those two. So yeah,
Wow.
some
I think we're losing you a bit, John. That's so exciting. That agenda doesn't feel like a job anyways. John, you're coming in and out
Did
like
it get
so.
lost or?
Yeah, now I
Mm,
think you're back.
okay.
Yeah, we've got you.
Do you want me to repeat something, or did everything come through?
So you were just saying your next games in
Right.
Ubisoft.
Yeah.
So I was saying that indeed doesn't feel like a job. It
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
like a lot of fun waiting for you.
Yeah. 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 It does. It does. I'm pretty excited to get going, and yeah, I'm starting this coming Monday. Yeah.
Cool. So we have a ton of questions noted for you, me and Saliha, I'm sure. But before going into those, I want to hand over to Saliha, our own, very own sound designer at Vadi Sound. I think you have a common theme of at one point getting out of Turkey and getting a whole new vision into what you can do. And Saliha told me about that before. So let's hear how you became a sound designer, Saliha, and a musician,
Yes.
of course. You have a few different skills.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. It is really exciting to do this first talk that we really want to do more. And I was playing the violin before, and I wanted to pursue that as a profession, but I didn't know much about the industry or anything else really. But I was really into film music and sound effects, especially the BBC school of looking towards sound in terms of storytelling. And I was looking for some programs that I could go and study. And I found Berklee College of Music's summer performance program. and I enrolled there to play the violin, but also I wanted to do a major in film scoring. So I was like, if I'm going to Berkeley, if I can get more scholarship, I can stay there and study my bachelor's degree. And I took an elective course on scoring music for visual media. And my teacher over there was the head of audio of League of Legends and Bioshock Infinite and all of those super cool games. And he talked about the game industry a lot and how he handles both the musical part and the sound effects and foley's and recordings and also the dialogue part, the voiceovers. And he kind of gave me a perspective about what else I can do. And I got into Berkeley, but still it's difficult to pursue. It was difficult to pursue my education in the States because I'm a student coming from Turkey, and there are some things that might hold back, like some economic situations. So I wanted to study at Bilgi University in Turkey, and it's more about composition and sound engineering over there. And I wanted to pursue on sound engineering. And we had some elective classes again, like sound art and recordings and studio as a compositional tool. So I kind of slowly got into the sound design world. And first it was more of a compositional approach. And then I started to look more on games and applications and radio theaters and movies and stuff like that. So slowly, step by step, I came to Vadi, and for like 5 months, I'm here. And it's never been better, I can say that.
This looks like it's a planned script.
Yep.
Thank you. We're very happy too. So let's dive into to your inspirations and role models. Saliha, you can continue with who you're following, who changed course of your vision. Just tell us more.
Sure. When I was going to Berkeley, I was really amazed by the music of Alexandre Desplat. He's, I think, French, a composer that composed most of Wes Anderson's movies, like Moonrise Kingdom and The Grand Budapest Hotel and stuff like that. I liked his approach on storytelling with music, but then when I went to Berkeley, my teacher that I talked about was Duncan Watts, and he was a really cool guy. He was thinking in terms of the entire aspects that you can think about of sound in a visual media, I can say. And I'm really inspired by Kim Cascon from Silent Records. He's a great composer, and I really like his craftsmanship of sound, I can say. Also, an artist from Turkey, Candaş Şişman, who I took sound art classes from. Yeah. And afterwards, when I really got into Foley sounds and like field recordings and what we do right now in Vadi, it was the first time that I came across to Amon Tobin, an artist that I really aspire much. And when I saw his sound collection, his own library, and how he would like create a pool and then like record some stuff, design some stuff, and put it over there, and then sometimes like take them out and create some new music with them. I was really inspired by that, and I wanted to create my own library. And then I came across Vadi.
Yeah.
And right now I'm just recording, collecting, and as a recordist that I really look up to, I can say Thomas Rex Beverly, because I really like his approach in the wild recordings, for example, wildlife recordings. Like he goes into very extreme weather conditions and he records very beautiful sounding
And he's
library.
also a passionate environment contributor.
Definitely. I mean, he, as far as I know, he donates
2%.
some of the,
Yeah.
to the nature, back to the nature.
Giving back, yeah, it's wonderful. Cool. And also you like game soundtracks, as far as I know. You're a hardcore gamer, right?
Yeah, I can say that, I guess, but I do love games and I do watch a lot of Twitch streams, but since my computer don't allow me to play much, I'm more of a can I play on your computer type of girl, I guess. But I really like, for example, Journey's soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And Little Nightmares is one of my favorite games of all time. And I play a lot of Stardew Valley, which we talk about at Vadi a lot.
Yeah, Enis also loves that.
Yeah.
It's an old-time classic.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I like the sound environment of some indie games that some person, a creative person, comes to the field and then starts creating a wonderful game, and then some music and sounds, like Stardew Valley. That's one of the examples, and also like Undertale is also one of those examples. I really like those Toby Fox's music as well. So yeah.
Oh, great. And you, John? Who are your role models, inspirations?
I would have to say probably like because when I was in school, I was learning the things I was learning were I was learning them for the first time. I was being exposed to these really interesting and new information for the very first time. So my voice is not coming through.
I hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you as well.
Oh,
I
okay.
think there's a problem in YouTube.
Okay. Should I keep going?
Just a second. I'm checking. I think they can hear me and Saliha for
But not me?
now. I think so. I'm waiting for a confirmation from Enis. Just a second. Anyways, Saliha and I think, Can, you need to connect again.
Okay, I'll disconnect and reconnect.
Yeah. And
Okay,
we
sure.
can actually start talking about some, sound effects and field recording with Saliha.
Okay, sure.
And then we'll get back to John's inspirations. So you said you started creating your own library and then our roads crossed. So I think at Vadi Sound Library, we talk a lot about creating like creative sound effects, because there are tons of sound effects there already. And if we're going to contribute, it needs to be something else, something that is not done. Yeah, and we gave this example like crickets chirping during the day and at night, and if it's 3 crickets or 30 crickets or 3,000 crickets makes a lot of difference. So we are very passionate about those kind of details, and of course quality and creativity. So tell us some facts about what you're actually paying attention to.
Sure, I'm gonna say some stuff that can lead up to John's explanation more. So, for example, John recorded us some sounds from Delhi, China, and Shanghai, and Japan, and those were for example, the crickets were inspired from those recordings, actually, the ones that John sent us. And we realized that some isolated cricket sounds were chirping really fast and some were slow. And I actually honestly didn't know the exact difference. Like haven't noticed before that. And I was like, oh, okay, this is different. So there's something here, and it's probably about like the heat or something. And it was about the heat, the day and night.
There was a little bit of controversy there, if it's the time of the day or the heat.
Yeah.
And then I think after a lot of research, crickets are more prone to heat than the sun, apparently.
Yeah, sure. So we try to record from different perspectives and take different alternatives because, I mean, if you're recording any kind of sound, if you want to create a music or a sound effect, an object, a sound source just doesn't like radiate into one, doesn't radiate in one way. So there are lots of possibilities, and also in a game industry, in a game situation, that you want to tell a story, you're creating something through sound, you're gonna need a lot of options to make those like attribute to that. So I guess John can tell us more about that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can, I think. Go on.
Perfect. So where should I pick up? Should I start from the inspirations or?
Yeah, go ahead. Just however you feel comfortable.
Yeah, okay. I was just saying when we were talking about the inspirations for me, because when I went to school, I was exposed to this information about sound design and films and games for the very first time. So the people who were teaching me these information, they were like kind of like mind-blowing to me. They really inspired me in ways that I didn't think was possible. They taught me these things with such passion that I kind of like surprised myself about how hard I was able to work and to how much I can put effort into learning these new things. So some of my teachers at school were really life-changing to me. Some of them I still talk to this day, like after 4 or 5 years. They're really nice people. But besides that, the people I met there, like my classmates who I was working with, they were also um, really important to me from the point of view like we were spending time together, we were giving each other feedback, we were criticizing our work, we were helping each other out. So the people you spend time with doing these projects are, for me, are really important. Like you can be inspired by other people that you haven't met, like people who work on Hollywood projects or like amazing bigger games or whatever. Like you can have inspiration from those people, but for me, the people you actually have personal connections, like people you work with, people you spend time on a daily basis, it's more important for me to surround yourself with like nice people and actually inspire each other. That's really nice for me. That's something I really pay attention to. But besides that, if I want to talk about some games, when I was learning, when I was just getting my feet wet about game audio, like just learning the tools and learning this new techniques and stuff like that, the game Inside just came out, and I was a fan of the game Limbo when it came out 6 years prior to that, but I had no interest in sound, not interest, but like I didn't have any perspective about sound design or anything like that. So I played the game. It was a cool game, but that was about it for me at the time. But when I played Inside after while I was studying game audio, it was kind of like this mind-blowing experience because the way they designed the sound and music in that game was really unique at the time, I think. And even today, if you ask a lot of game audio people, they would mention Inside as a very unique and different game in terms of sound design and music. The way they blended the two and make it work somehow, like none of the sounds feel very sound designy or music exclusively, but it's just like this amazing harmony between the two, which is something I feel like it's very, very hard to achieve. So that game was a big inspiration for me, just learning and dissecting like all the little details, how they achieved the things they achieved in that game. Just studying the game was really fun at the time. And yeah, about what you guys were talking earlier about like crickets and stuff. Um, that's something that kind of like ties into what I was saying about. I mean, it depends a lot on the projects that you work on. It depends a lot of the vision of the people of the game developers itself, because game development is not just you doing the sound you want to do. It's like a team effort. Like every it's like you're just part of the limb, part of one of the limbs in a body of, a human body. Like you're like a finger or something. If you want to scratch your hand, like your head, you would need the help of the arm and the shoulder, or like, you know what I mean? Like if you want to achieve the details you want to achieve, it needs to align with the vision and the desire of the whole team. Like if the game is set in Japan, for example, you need to um, you need to find the crickets in Japan, but you also need to make sure the game allows you to do this. You can't just record. You can't just go to Japan and record crickets every time the game is set in Japan. I don't know if that makes sense. Like you you need to pay attention to these details. Um, because it's really important to find these little differences between, like what you guys were saying, how many crickets are there, how many, what's the atmosphere like, is it summer, is it winter, is it daytime, is it nighttime, what's the climate like, is it a certain time of the is it certain time of the year, is it raining, is it dry, like all these different parameters will make a difference. But it comes down to how much of it is important for your project. That's something you also need to keep in mind when you're recording these sounds, when you're editing these sounds, when you're adding these sounds into your project. So yeah, all those key details are important, but it's also important to understand the understanding the importance of how they are aligning with your project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
just introduced a new dimension to cricket, the nationality of the cricket. So now we have that.
Yeah.
Cool. And that does make a difference, by the way. The types of crickets all around the world
Of
probably are
course.
hundreds of
Yeah.
crickets. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
That I think it also puts a whole new perspective of how you hear and see the world. You know, you
Hmm.
become totally receptive to all different kinds of sounds, music, the living things, sound of everything. So
Yeah.
it's such a huge world.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like recording sounds in different locations. If you're a nature sound recordist, uh, like to an average person, maybe recording sounds in a forest may feel like it might sound kind of same or the similar maybe, but if you if you're paying attention to like the little details, no forest will sound the same, exactly the same. There's always gonna be differences. The rustling of the trees, the wind's density, or the variety of the animals, or just there's many things that will make it sound unique make it sound unique. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you do a lot of edits after you record, or do you just finish it off at recording most of the time?
It depends. Like there's no it's not a yes or no answer, but there are times where I need a sound and I go record something and I put it back in the computer and it just works. And for me, that's like the most amazing feeling. But that doesn't happen obviously very often. a lot of the times the recorded sound on its own is almost never enough. There's always you need to have some kind of layers to make it sound rich. And but again, also, like, it depends on the game, depends on the project. uh, a lot of the times, if you're working on some kind of like AAA game with like that needs to sound full and crisp, you would always have to almost always have to fill out the frequency spectrum. So when you record a sound, and if the sound itself sounds nice, but if it's lacking some kind of like low end, you would have to add some layers and do some EQing or whatever to get the desired effects. Or if you record the sound and it just doesn't it doesn't feel like that thing you want to achieve in the game, so maybe you don't use that at all. You record something entirely different, but you have the sound. um, you can apply that sound for the thing you need. So it's not always just I see a dog, I'll record a dog and put it in. There's always different steps to achieving the results. Yeah.
Cool.
Hmm.
So we were talking about like recording your own sounds for games versus, getting sounds from outside. And we know that you prefer recording your sounds, and then sometimes we help, sometimes you get them somewhere else. And as Saliha said, by the way, for those who are watching, John has been a wonderful contributor to Vadi Sound from our first day. So thank you for that. The
Yeah,
China
of
and
course.
Japan ambiances and many more. You were saying sometimes you go with your own sounds in games, sometimes you get help from outside. So what's the difference? What happens?
Yeah. One thing that I see on the internet, like, that's not maybe mentioned enough. If you go to YouTube and search for sound design tutorial about something, like whether it's weapons or magic or ambiances, whatever it is, there's lots of tutorials. Like, I think it's a really nice thing. People will show you like their workflow, the tools they use, the sounds they use. I think it's amazing, like the era we live in, like being able to access this information is amazing. It's really nice. But there's also something that I see not that talked about, maybe, when you're working on these projects for game companies or for film or for whatever else. Almost always you have some kind of deadline that you need to deliver your work. And sometimes these deadlines are really strict. Sometimes you have some extra time, but there's a lot of moments in your daily life that you have some kind of deadline coming up, and you have to finish a certain amount of work before that deadline. So when you're in those kind of situations, it's nice to uh, it's always nice to spend extra times on a single sound. Like, if you have a door closing, you want to design the sound of a door closing, you can, of course, go ahead and spend a full entire day just making this amazing sounding door closing sound. You can do that. No one can stop you from doing that, and it'll be fine. Like, it's okay to do that. But if you're working with some kind of deadline, you need to find a way to do that fast, but at the same time find a way to do it your own. Like, it still needs to be your sound that no one has ever heard before. It needs to sound unique. It needs to satisfy you as a creative person, but also it needs to satisfy the customer, the consumer of that project, and they will have to enjoy it, but also you have to enjoy working on it. But at the same time, you have to work within the time limitations that you're given. So it's like there's many constraints you need to fulfill. So in those times, you can't just you may not have the time to go record a bunch of different door sounds and then come back, edit them, layer them, and get that desired door sound. So in that situation, if you don't have the time, you can go to Vadi Sound Library and search for some door sounds, or you can search for other websites or other sound library companies, whatever, and you need to finish that sound in a normal amount of time so you can move on with your project. So that's something I think it's all really important. It's of course it's nice to spend extra time like making amazing sounds, but it's also important to keep in mind that I think that's something, the realistic aspect of the situation, where you need to get things done, even though it might sound maybe kind of like a negative, it might have a negative thing, but you need to get things done, and maybe you need to learn how to work fast, how to satisfy yourself as a creative person while working fast. So you need to strike a balance between recording your own sounds and also learning how to search libraries, learning how to search your own sounds, learning how to name your sounds, name the sounds you recorded, so you can really quickly, if you recorded this one door closing sound, I don't know, 10 years ago in some place, you need to be able to really quickly search and find it. That's also something that comes with time, I think. Like you don't learn naming conventions right away. There are some universal naming conventions you can follow. That's also really nice. But also like you need to get familiar with the sounds you record, but also you need to get familiar with the sounds you have in your disposal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
metadata and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And Saliha, when you're recording for game, of course it's multi-usage, but especially for game. So tell us your process, your benchmarks,
Yeah,
how
sure.
you're trying to meet what John is actually saying is important.
Yeah, actually, it's the chance to kind of have this relationship with John where we can talk about what a game audio designer needs. So it's kind of inspiring for me to think more about what we can do and how we can get started with the creative process, actually. So what a game needs might differ, but the content creation that we start with, um, I think I have white noise. I don't hear it, but it might be because of the AC, air conditioner. So
I hear it too.
okay,
Can you
how about now?
little bit better?
Okay,
I think it's manageable.
how's my voice now?
Your voice is clear.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I can hear it fine too.
Okay, so I was talking about content creation. Okay. The when we start creating a bundle or we create sound effects for our library, for our compilation, I'd say, we think about capturing the sound right from the source. But with bundles especially, we kind of try to create a thematic approach to sound. For example, we released two bundles from medieval times recently. Our last two bundles are from medieval times. One is about warfare and the other is about town, like your leisure time in a medieval town. So the games that we really like kind of focus on those eras as well. So I checked and listened to and played through many games that could help us to see what actually we can record and cover everything in the medieval era. So, for example, let's say in a town, we actually put ourselves inside a town in our mind map, like what does a medieval town have, and where are we going from this town? Like, what is our path inside this town? So we kind of had this sonic journey inside the town that we can recreate actually the sound effects for ourselves. And mostly when we're recording these sounds we're designing, we try to think of the perspectives, like where do we put the microphones? Is it like super close up or medium perspective or from far away? And these differences might actually give the flexibility to the game audio designer to pick up and like kind of make the game more interactive in a sonic way, I would say. Or like some ambiences are crowded, some are really small, some have no people in it, and we kind of took the picture of a town and made it alive a bit. And personally, and what I see from Vadi is that we all try to kind of reflect on what we like and enjoy spending some time on. For example, games, especially. That's the top one thing that we talk about all the time. So yeah, I think thinking about what we want to hear is coming alive through people like John, thankfully.
That's how we started as well. We said, let's first impress ourselves because there's so much good stuff in the market already. Like we have some very good benchmarks and players we respect. So the idea is to be like the minimum their quality and add some new stuff on top of that.
Also, that was one of your questions and I forgot, sorry, but you asked me my benchmarks or how we start planning the process. I think the forming the interaction between the elements, like as John said, with music and sound effects, it's also one of the things that like the interaction of the hearts to you too. The interaction between the elements inside the bundle is really important too to make it resonate inside the bundle. So to form a concept at the beginning and then start designing and recording, I kind of go through everything that I can find online, like who recorded what and what did they do with those sounds and how would they present those sounds into the market. And I mostly check sound effects, blogs, and what people look for in the beginning. And then one of my biggest benchmarks is Boom Library, because I really like their discipline and the amount of care that goes into the creation of those sounds. So also for the game industry, one of my really what I look up to, actually, pole position production, like vehicle sounds and guns. Especially guns are a field that I'm not really close to. Maybe for designing, I might try that, but I don't really play games that require gun type of weapons. I'm more of a like dagger type of person, I would say. So it was easy for me to think with think in terms of medieval warfare, and that was an easy process for me to create. But I mean, it's a bit harder to think in terms of guns and how like gunpowders and like those explosions and like it's really loud to record as well. So I kind of look up to them, and hopefully one day I might want to try more in those areas.
Cool. So there's also this Ambisonics now on your agenda.
Yes.
I think you're recording all of Istanbul already.
Yeah, I have a plan.
That's really cool.
Thank you. I really want to record the entire places that I can go to. Like, it's like you take a journey, you go anywhere, and you can bring a recorder or equipment along the way and like capture everything. So as we were talking, and John said that a forest doesn't sound similar to another forest, also a moment passes and that exact same forest doesn't sound the same
Yeah,
anymore.
that's true.
And if you, yeah, and it's like, I remember a saying, one of my teachers used to say that, it's like it happens like a punctuation in time and space. It happens for only a second, a moment. And I remember we talked with a photographer here in Vadi when we were recording analog and digital cameras bundle. We were talking about capturing something that's not ever going to happen again, like it's not going to occur again. And as artists and designers and photographers, also we have in common to collect kind of memories, I'd say. So I kind of want to recreate the image of Istanbul because it's a very, it changed rapidly fast in here. Like so much happens in so little time, and the soundscape of Istanbul, I find it under threat, I'd say. So I kind of want to record an archive, keep it as an archive, and maybe I like to learn more about acoustic ecology and data. I'd like to learn more about those fields so that I can understand what's actually going on in terms of sound. And with the Ambisonic possibility that we have right now, I kind of like took the road blimp, place all the 4 microphones inside and go this way on the streets. And like people are like, oh, okay. And those are the streets that I go by like for like 5 to 6 years every day probably. But yeah, it's a whole new experience for me to take these headphones, my recorder and microphones, and then just start walking on the streets or wait at a spot to actually listen to what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Istanbul, as you said, is becoming a very, very noisy place now. So when it snows like this, by the way, it's now snowing where I am in Istanbul, or when there's like a curfew, was it? Not going out, like not being able to go out. We can actually, then we can capture the city. And there's also, I think we're still lucky in terms of calm ambiances in Turkey, not in Istanbul, but in Turkey, because we can still go to the mountains, go to the seaside, some isolated places left in Turkey where we travel and capture, like the Ayda Mountains you just recently went to, Saliha, Kaz Dağları, as we call it. We are still after those calm ambiances.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it's going well. I want to hear more about you. I think we have the time, so let's just use it. I want to ask maybe John first, what else is important in game audio? Because that's what we promised to our listeners.
Right.
We can talk about plugins, middleware, what else you learn from, what else fuels your creativity. Just share with us.
Yeah, sure. Maybe like the first thing I think of when you ask me what else is important, I always have this see people discussing about sound design itself, like how to record sounds, how to edit sounds, which DAW to use, which plugin to use, and those are all really like important, of course, and need to be discussed. But also I would say there's also another aspect of game audio that's, I would say, equally important, which is the middleware part and also the engine part, where you do the implementation and the integration itself. And if you ask me personally, for me, the importance, if I had to divide the importance, I would say just 33%, 33%, 33%, because they all have their own importance, and they all have their own ways to show your creativity, and they all have their own ways to improve the game itself. And so for me, where the way to if when we're talking about implementation in a game, in a middleware, whether it's Fmod or Wise or whatever, any other one, it's really important to learn how to use the tool itself.
I think we are losing you temporarily. Saliha, can you hear him?
No, same here.
Okay, it was just talking about middlewares, how to
Yes.
use them. John, if you can hear us, maybe you can go in and out again. There's a huge lag with your voice, and your visual is frozen.
I think he's back.
Yeah?
Like,
I cannot hear John.
me neither. No.
So while he tries again, I have a wonderful topic to talk about.
Right? Sure.
It's about supporting women in game audio.
Yay!
John, we really want to have you. Yeah, he left. I think he will join again.
Yes,
Okay.
I think he's connecting.
Can you hear?
Yeah, he's back.
Can you hear me?
Sure,
Yeah?
Yes.
You're
Sorry,
back.
I'm not sure why that's happening. Where should I
Okay,
pick up
tell
from?
us, you left in what's important in middlewares, like which
Right,
whether middleware
Okay,
you're
okay.
using, you said, and then
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying it's really important to learn how to use the tool itself, and how to, like, you need to learn the basics, you need to learn functions, you need to learn all of that stuff, which is very important. But I was saying, like, it's really
can you hear
important
John?
to just
We're losing him at the right
play
place, the same place
games
each time.
and
Okay,
learn. Oh, can you hear me?
John, we lost you. Ah, yeah, you're
No?
back.
Back?
Yeah. Now back.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm surprised how far we came anyways with,
Yeah.
such a complicated connection from China.
Yeah.
So good so far.
Okay.
But we keep losing you at the very same
Okay.
place.
I'll try the
So
third
take it
time.
again.
Third time, the lucky time.
Yeah.
Okay. I was saying it's really important to learn middleware. I think, like Wise or Fmod or any other one. It's really important to learn the basics. It's important to learn the functions and which part where does which function for you. You need to learn these things. But also, I was saying that it's really important to think about middleware and implementation ideas, coming up with the creative solutions and coming up with ideas to improve your project. Even if you know the middleware inside out, all the functions itself, that's not actually enough for you to make your game interesting. You need to have the ideas, you need to come up with different ideas, you need to come up with different solutions, you need to create problems for yourself, and then you need to find a way to solve these problems. That's one way to, like, make your game sound interesting and different than the other ones out there. And the same thing goes for the integration side, which is the game engine, whether it's Unity engine, Unity or Unreal or whatever other ones out there, they also provide you with different aspects where you can use your creativity to, again, create problems and create the solutions. You need to be just never be satisfied with whatever you created so far, and you need to push for different unique stuff. That you need to think about other games. You need to find find the ideas they used. You need to maybe combine one idea from one game and a different idea from another game, and then kind of add your own flavor to both those ideas and come up with something new. So it's not just about like learning the tools itself, like the technical aspect, but it's also, I think, important to keep up with the game industry, follow the new games, listen to the new games, and just kind of like never stop listening, never stop looking for ideas. I think it's very important for us, for our industry in sound design, game audio.
Cool.
Yeah. Did that came through?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I think we got
nice.
Yeah,
you.
perfectly.
Yeah.
Crystal
Nice.
clear.
Okay.
Shall we pass on to our last topic on our agenda before we take up the questions?
Yeah, sure.
So when we lost you for a sec there, we started talking about, women in game audio. And as we discussed before, there are some very shocking facts about diversity in game audio, especially. I think it was done in a GDC survey on how game sound designers define themselves in terms of gender and diversity. And a shocking 87% of them called themselves as male and binary. So that's a very, very high number to tackle with. So we are in Vadi Sound, we really want to hire for the culture and not the gender or belief or whatever. But in this environment of 87 men and binary people, we need to actively support the non-binary and women in our profession. So from the very first day, Enis and I believe firmly that we should support this. So we actually donate a percentage of what we earn to the non-binary and women causes in Turkey. That's how we start, and we want to do more for sure. And putting this in hand, we also really want to hire for the culture and not the skills, because the skills can almost always can be taught, but the culture, the competencies, the personality comes first, because we really want to work in an environment where we can trust each other, where we nurture creativity, where as John was saying the other day, when we can take very negative feedback from a peer or a supervisor, and we know that it's just about the work and it's not about our personality or a bias or a whatever gender issue. So this is the other fact we keep discussing and how we can change this. But the male problem, as I would call it, is very common, because I'm having my master's now in sound technologies. I just started. And again, we have like more than 70% men all around. And we have to just support the female here and the non-binary for sure. So let me hear your thoughts, and maybe we can start with Saliha.
Okay, sure. I think this is a really important subject to talk about, and I think it's a whole another topic that we can expand more in the future, because as you said, it's a male-dominated industry, and it kind of feels difficult to make a sound. I mean, making a sound in a sound industry shouldn't be that difficult. Like, this is the exact thing that we're trying to do in the industry. We're trying to listen to things and we're trying to make sounds. So like, not paying attention to any people that identify with anything other than a male, cis hetero binary person. Maybe you can add more adjectives to the discriminated people and the privileged people, but I think it's sad to see it in the game industry, which is a relatively new industry, and I would expect more of the quieter voices to find a place to make a sound in, I would say. But what I see recently is making me feel hopeful, I would say. I mean, when I first met Vadi and you guys, like, instantly, it made me feel like, okay, as a woman and as someone not identifying as binary, like, what's gonna happen and how am I gonna be myself in an environment that I'm gonna spend my entire days at? Like, so I think it's really precious at what we have here, and also I hope that these type of collectives and projects, maybe we had a project for the March 8th, where we went to the parades, and not, I wouldn't say parades, but I don't know the exact word in English for that. And it's such a it was such a powerful experience to visit there and record some sounds and then create some sounds with those, to actually realize that we're making some group of people that want to reach to other people with their voices get heard in a way. We try to work for that, so I guess that's really important. And the more I get into the industry, the more I create things, I come across to many other sound engineers and sound designers, game audio designers, who are women. And they kind of have this urge to share more about their stories and experiences and talk, and how they're affected by this discrimination. And I guess it's going to somewhere better, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also think, like, I think the point you guys make are, maybe I can add some of my thoughts. I think it's not only like it's really, really important to make people understand the importance of diversity. It's not just reaching the diversity goal, because I see a lot of the times happen, like, companies that hire there's a lot of companies that are very, like you said, white dominated, just male employees, but there's also some that do the diversity just for the sake of diversity, which is something that kind of misses the point. But I think it's very important to make people understand why diversity is important, and not just for the sake of it, but how it can improve your company or your workplace. If you own a company, whether it's a game company or a sound company or whatever it is, I feel like you have an obligation for the industry you work in, and for the community that you are in, whether it's the game audio community, game community. You have an obligation to inspire people, create opportunities for people, but an equal opportunity for everyone, not just a certain group or whatever. Like you have that obligation to. It's not just making money for your company. You can, of course, making money is important. Like you have to keep your company afloat. You have to survive, and that's also, of course, important. But it's not just about that. You also have other obligations for your society that you're in whichever country you are, whichever group of people you are working with. For me, it's really important to make people understand the importance of it.
Cool. So, somebody just asked how you get these game audio designer jobs. So the question was actually about Turkey, but you have a global experience. So maybe you can elaborate on some of the, networks that we can use, the newbies actually can use, people who want to step into this sector. And I think you mentioned how you came to China through a network, a friend
Right.
or a
Yeah.
colleague, similarly. So what are your
Yeah.
thoughts there? It's not always easy to find a job, of course. There's high
Of
demand.
course
So
not. Yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
do that?
I got my current job is just through a friend. Like we were close friends in school, and we were always working together, so we became like kind of close friends. She was working in this company before me, and she wanted to leave and join. She wanted to try film sound. So I was kind of lucky. Like if I was to speak for myself, she recommended me to replace her position. So I got that job kind of like that. But to answer the question, of course, networking is important. Like you have to meet people. You have to um, go to the events if it's possible around your city or around in your country to meet with like-minded people. Network is obviously very important, but in this day and age with like lockdowns and whatever COVID, maybe you may not be uh, you may not have the opportunity to do so, or maybe there's not any events around you. But there's always stuff online. You can one way that is, I think, kind of popular is attending game jams.
Yeah.
You can find game jams online. There's on Discord or on Reddit or whatever. There's always stuff happening, and you can meet with like game developers. You can meet with other sound designers, and when you start getting to know new people, it's always a step forward. It's never I mean, you kind of have to work for it. Of course, it's not easy. There's no quick path to it. Another question, like we were talking about the other day, like, do you really need to go to school to do this? And I've asked that. I've been asked that question before, so I kind of have this answer in my head. For me, I think about that a little bit as like, do I have to go to the gym to uh, have a healthy body, like to have a fit body? I mean, the answer is kind of similar, I think. Like, you can, of course, go to gym, like, it'll be helpful for you. Like, you have more tools, you have like these like-minded people who are also working out and doing those kind of stuff. But you don't have to go to gym to get fit and eat healthy and do physical exercise. I see it kind of similar. Uh, you can, of course, going to school is it has its advantages. You can meet like-minded people. You can learn the tools from these industry professionals. You'll get more familiar with the equipment and the gear and stuff like that. But in this internet age, you have so much resources and so much information just online for you to you can just get lost in it and learn pretty much anything you want to learn from the internet, meet with new people, and get involved with projects.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I mean, going to school is also like, to be honest, the school I went to is kind of expensive. So I wouldn't I wouldn't be able to recommend it to everyone. It's kind of inaccessible, I think, for most people. So I 100% completely understand if you are not in a position to go to some fancy, expensive school, which is completely understandable. But that's not the only way to get into the industry, get into
Yeah.
game audio and become a sound designer. Yeah.
And the global conferences are now commonly hybrid attending. So like after the COVID especially, conferences like GDC and stuff and its audio part is
Yeah, yeah.
hybrid as far as I know. And there's some good discounts for students as well.
Hmm.
So I think that may be a good platform to really understand what's going on in this game audio world and jobs. And I know that they are holding forums, especially for people looking for game audio roles worldwide.
Mm.
So that's a good stuff. And I think a good portfolio is always handy whenever you make a connection. And some people ask me if it's, for example, sound effects. Does it have to be sound effects? No. Whatever you have created actually sound wise or you have contributed sound wise is, of course, always useful to impress your future employers. Uh,
Yep.
that's what comes to my mind. But I want to ask you, is it like really useful to like apply to all the game audio gaming companies like frantically? Does it work?
Uh, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for like a AAA company job, like it's not easy. You kind of have to. It's just like with any other job application situation where you just kind of have to apply for the things you want and do the interviews, do the sound test, and kind of like, I mean, ultimately it's up to you, but I see more and more job openings happening around the world, and especially after COVID, like remote is becoming even more and more popular. So yes, I understand like being in certain countries that are maybe less developed might be a handicap for some people, but yeah, like I said, remote jobs are becoming more and more popular. You can easily if you have the right tools and right skills, you can easily get a job elsewhere working for a big company. Um, if they are okay with the time difference and stuff. And yeah, it's completely up to you. Like you can be picky applying for the jobs. You don't have to be frantic, of course. You can be picky with your applications. Sorry, the cat is kind of talkative. But yeah, you can of course be picky, but I mean it depends on what you're looking for. Yeah.
I know that Saliha was very surprised to find such a job in Turkey. So for Turkey, I
Mm.
think it's more limited, but there are ways, huh?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Always.
I mean, I remember that I would go through Kickstarter projects to find some games or short movies that I would like to contribute to with sound and like personally message them and say like, I do these and I want to do this and like, do you need a sound designer for your project? I do for free, etc. To like I remember the first times before I started college and I really wanted to do this to gain some experiences as well. Like go for it, I would say, because right now it's more easy to access the as John said, the game developers or the people actually work in the industry through Discord or Reddit or Twitch maybe, or even their personal accounts. But like 6 or 7 years ago, I would like literally go down Kickstarter and like find a game that I would like to be in before the project is like starting. Yeah, I would find my projects from there.
Yeah. And maybe also find some mentors to just show you the way and just
Exactly.
build the connections, gather the dots as maybe an idea. Because it's not easy to see it when you're a fresh person in this industry. It's hugely growing, so factors are changing every week as well. So
Yeah.
cool. I think we covered most of what we planned. We can always talk more, but let's leave it to our next session. I really
Yeah.
want to continue this with you.
Hmm.
I want to thank both of you for your time preparation and overall
Thank
contribution
you.
to life, for your presence. I want to thank Enis, our co-CEO at Vadi Sound, for making all of this possible. And also I want to thank Berna for all the preparations, marketing support and arrangements. So I think that's all for today, and thank you to everyone who watched. And we'll be back again soon with Vadi Sound Talks.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Finished. Bitirdik mi?